From WSLC, this is What's the Story? I'm Aidan Mitchell. At a Maine Democratic Socialists of America meeting I was at this past summer, a woman named Maria spoke about her experience as a member of the police oversight organization in Portland. I didn't even know we had an oversight organization, and I was struck by how passionate and yet very clearly frustrated Maria was about her involvement with the committee. I met up with her in a coffee shop on Stevens Ave while I was back in Portland over break.
I'm Maria Testa. I've been living in Portland, Maine for 28 years. 28 years, I believe now.
I asked Maria to explain what the Police Oversight Board really did.
It's called the Police Citizen Review Subcommittee. Our mission is really, really narrow. What we actually do is just have some review of the internal affairs process for citizen complaints for the Portland Police Department. So in other words, if a citizen files a complaint against an officer for basically any reason, it will go through a process internally at the Portland Police Department in the Internal Affairs Office. There's a sergeant who basically will do the investigation, which usually involves interviewing anybody involved, any witnesses, the officer, the complainant, anything like that. So our role comes in only for that very, very first step, which is we review really the work of the initial Internal Affairs Sergeant who does the investigation. And that's pretty much a checklist investigation. They have basically a checklist of interviews, files, documents, video. So all of this is usually done by the lowest person on the totem pole, and that's whose job that we review. Just the nature of how this is structured, it ends up being that this committee, as long as it's been in existence, which I think has been for a little while now, I want to say 15 years or something like that, it's never overturned. I mean, it's never ever said that this job has not been done properly. So we basically just affirm that the sergeant did his job right. And that's it. So even though we might disagree with what happened subsequently, we have no authority to really, other than informally, make any kind of comment on that. The only thing that goes in the record is the fact that we always unanimously agree that the sergeant did, used to be her, now his job correctly. And that's it. That's our entire role.
Maria's description of the subcommittee made it seem almost entirely pointless. She told me that she hadn't heard of the organization until the aftermath of a contentious protest back in 2016.
Most recently, we had those incident in Portland a few years ago with Black Lives Matter protests on Commercial Street. That kind of went haywire. A lot of the people who were arrested from that incident, young people mostly, were really frustrated with and very dissatisfied with the role of the Citizen Review Committee. I think they thought they had, if not an ally, somebody who would hear them out on how they felt like they had been treated by the police. And that is not, as I described, that's not at all what this committee does. And I think when they figured that out, they were incredibly disappointed and frustrated, and some of that was voiced publicly for the first time. I think people were upset with the members of the committee, and then they realized these people who were on this committee had absolutely no power to do or say anything.
Some of Maria's friends who knew she had a background studying law and an interest in social justice issues told Maria about the committee. She spent some time researching the organization, and when she joined, she had a clear goal in mind.
And in all honesty, and I don't care if anybody knows this, and I've said it enough times, I'm on it to change it. I'm on it to raise public awareness of what it is, how little we actually do, and what would the public like. And I'd like to see us have more input throughout the process. I mean, we could literally disagree with the entire chain of command's interpretation of what happened and their decisions about what happened, but still send out this unanimous approval of the investigation, because all we're reviewing is this checklist job of one sergeant, and so it's really, really frustrating. And I honestly wouldn't know where to begin, but I know that I can't sit here for too many more years on this board doing literally nothing.